In the first paragraph of passage 1, author introduces 4 legal approaches to make technology socially useful. The first is specific directives, in which the government controls a technological operation. The second is market incentives, in which financial costs are attached to the use of a certain technology. The third is criminal prohibitions, in which rules are made against the use or non-use of a certain technology. And the fourth is changing decision-making structures, in which the constitution of decision-making bodies is altered. In the second paragraph, author tells us that which of these methods is to be used is determined by the goal the government sets. And in the final paragraph, author says there are external costs to society attached to the use of certain technology. Therefore, these external costs should be internalized for optimal allocation of resources. That's what the passage is all about. Question number 1. The passage is primarily concerned with describing what? Option A says objectives and legal method. Okay. Does he talk about objectives? Yes. In the second paragraph, the goal determines which method to use. Legal methods, throughout the passage, 4 legal approaches are being discussed. So objectives and legal method for directing technological development sounds like the correct answer. Option B, technical approaches to the problem of controlling market activity. There is no talk of technology here. There is no talk of legal approaches. And the goal is not to control market activity. The goal is to direct the use of technology in a socially useful direction. So this is factually incorrect. Option C, reasons for slowing the technological development in light of environmentalist objections. First, environmentalist objection is an alien idea. If at all, author discusses one example of air pollution caused by motor vehicles, but there is no talk of environmentalism is not the main focus of the passage. Also, author has not argued for slowing the technological development. Rather, he has argued for channeling it in a socially useful direction. Therefore, this is also an alien idea. Option D, technological innovations, making it possible to achieve optimum allocation of resources. What is missing in option D is the application of legal approaches. So technological innovations are not capable in and of themselves to achieve optimal allocation of resources. Certain legal approaches have to be applied in order to make these technological innovations capable of achieving optimum allocation of resources. So legal approaches wala part is missing from option D. Correct answer, option A. Question number 2. If there were no external costs as they are described in the passage, which of the following would be true? Okay, so it's a CR, critical reasoning based question. So here in the last 2 paragraphs, author says there are external costs involved to society of the use of a certain technology. And therefore, author argues that the price set by buyers and sellers does not usually account for these external costs. Hence, if there were no external costs, option A says all technology control methods would be effective. There is no such argument, alien idea. Option B says some resource allocations would be illegal. This is also alien idea. The prices would include all the costs to members of society. That is exactly what the author says. So if there were no external cost involved, if all the external costs are internalized, then the prices set by the buyers and sellers should include all the costs to members of society. Option C is the correct answer. Question 3. According to the passage, transactions between private buyers and sellers have effects on society that generally, okay, option A, are harmful. Well, the argument made in the passage is that sometimes the effects could be harmful. An example is given, that of air pollution caused by motor vehicles. So transactions between private buyers and sellers do not always or are not generally harmful. They may be harmful. So option A is exaggerated, not the correct answer. Option B, they give rise to ever increasing resource cost. Nowhere in the passage has the author argued that the resource cost keeps increasing because of these transactions. Option C, it reflects an optimal allocation of natural resources. Quite the opposite. It does not reflect optimal allocation. There are external costs involved. That's exactly what the author argues. Option D, they encompass more than the effects on the buyers and sellers alone. Absolutely correct. Author's main argument is that it involves cost to some external parties, cost to society. Okay. So the transactions between private buyers and sellers have effects on society which go beyond the effects on buyers and sellers alone, which also include social cost. Option D is the correct answer. Question 4, it can be inferred from the passage that author does not favor which of the following. Okay. Option A says causing technological development to cease. This is alien idea. Author has never called for stopping or banning technological development. Therefore, A should be the answer. He does not favor this. Option B says changing the balance of power between opposing interests in business. Author does in the last two paragraphs says that the external cost should be internalized and bargaining should be done until transactions could no longer improve the situation or bargaining could no longer improve the situation. Okay. Which means the balance of power between opposing interests should shift from the buyer seller to the society. Society should also have a say, or the government indirectly should have a say in the use of a certain technology. So the balance of power should shift. He will agree with this. Option C, he favors intervening in the activity of the free market. In fact, the 4 legal approaches mentioned by the author serve this purpose. Option D, making prices reflect costs to everyone in society. Absolutely. Author favors this. The last paragraph is all about internalizing the costs and making the price of a technology reflect the cost to everyone in society. So he agrees with BCD, does not agree with or does not favor A. A gasoline conservation tax on the purchase of large automobiles with the proceeds of the tax rebated to the purchasers of small automobiles is an example of. Here, a cost is being attached to the use of a certain technology, and attaching external costs as discussed in passage synopsis was an example of market incentive modification. It is mentioned here too, market incentive modifications may consist of imposing taxes to cover the cost to society. So gasoline conservation tax is an example of market incentive modification. Okay.